Good evening. My name is Helen Anthony. I'm the chair of the Committee on Finance. I'm calling to order our regular meeting on Thursday, January 23rd, 2025 at 5:35. Madam Clerk, would you please read the roll?
Chairwoman Anthony,
Present.
Vice Chairman Taylor,
Present.
Counselor Andujar,
Present.
Councilwoman Graves is absent, Counselor Sanchez.
Present.
We have 4 present and 1 absent. We have a quorum.
Thank you so much. And I'd like to recognize that we are joined this evening by Councilor Peterson, Councilor Escobar, Councilor Gonzalez. We have Ken Cheverini from the City Solicitor's Office and our wonderful clerks, Carissa and Donna. And thank you so much, and thank you all for joining us.
So noted.
Okay, and I am going to take some items out of order on the agenda this evening. I am going to start with, I'd like to start, need a motion with our school board candidates. So I'd like to start by taking items 5 through 7, 8, 5 through 8 out of order.
Actually, there's 9, vote on 9, 5 to 9.
Sorry.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Councilor Taylor, seconded by Councilor Andujar. All in favor? Aye, all opposed. Okay, and with that, I would also ask that, a motion to waive the readings of items 5 through 8. And I will take that all right now. I have a motion.
So moved. Second. 5 to 9.
Open line, sorry. Motion made by Councilor Taylor. Is there a second?
Second.
Councilor Andujar. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, all opposed. So I would like to call Melissa Hughes, if you can join us at the table, and we will swear you in.
This is important. See if you're under penalty of perjury that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. I do. And please state your name for the record and your address.
Melissa Hughes, 137 Elton Street, Providence.
Melissa, thank you so much for joining us this evening. I'd like to congratulate you for the appointment. I know we have to seal that with the city council approval. I'll remind the members of our committee and our guests that we heard extensively from Melissa about a year ago when you were before us. And we were very impressed then with what you had to say about your experience in public school. And because we do have a rather long agenda and we have to meet some new candidates, I'm going to just ask you and probably Angel, and it's certainly we can follow up with questions, but without going through the entire background and why it is you want to run, which we have done before recently. I was just wondering if you might like to share with us any insights you've had since you've been serving in your capacity on this board.
I would love to. Thank you so much, Chairwoman Anthony, members of the committee, and other city councilors. I'm honored to be before you again. It does feel that we just met a very short time ago. I have served for 1 year on the Providence School Board. I had the good fortune of being elected as school board secretary and had the opportunity to work closely with the board president and board vice president as a leadership team. That was a wonderful experience to learn from members who had been serving on the board longer than I had, as well as additional opportunities to collaborate with Superintendent Montañez, with his team, and members of the board in general. I also was selected to chair the board's policy committee this last year, where I had the great fortune of serving with Ms. Newman, who you'll hear from shortly. And I think that was a great learning experience for me in policy process, in engaging other board members, and really working closely with members of the superintendent's cabinet across various departments. We had the opportunity to work with the Equity and Belonging Office, with the Family and Community Engagement Office, with Student Supports, with all sorts of folks that are doing some amazing work for our students. I would say that the greatest accomplishment of that committee was we did a lot of work, and the most important thing I think we accomplished this last year was we were able to pass a revised school closure policy. That policy hadn't been revised by the Providence School Board since 1991. And we know that that can be a really painful and complicated process for families, for staff, and for communities as a whole. And I'm really proud of the work that we did on the school board there in great collaboration with the school department to be able to create a policy that builds in more responsiveness, collaboration, and communication at various stages when a school closure is possible and when that school closure is happening. I learned a lot this year. I learned that there was lots I didn't know yet, but I'm really excited at the opportunity to get to continue in that work. And I'm proud to serve the students and families of Providence, and I'm really excited to represent Region 1.
Wonderful, thank you. I am going to open it up to our committee members. Yes, Councilor Sanchez.
Thank you, Chairwoman. Thank you, Melissa, and I will definitely echo all the positive things that the Chairwoman said. Just one question. And you know, it's might be a complicated question to answer, but just quick opinion or thoughts on it is, after a year of serving on the school board, do you have stronger opinions or new thoughts on returning our district back to local control? Do you think we're closer now from when you started a year ago? Do you think we need to see that in next year? Do you have any just quick thoughts on it? I'd just like to hear your perspective after a year on the board.
Yeah, thank you, Councilman. One thing that I didn't mention in my opening remarks is I also was able to serve as the board designee on a committee that was convened by RIDE this fall to start looking more closely about return to local control. I was able to work with some senior staff from your city council, with some folks from the mayor's office as well, and folks at RIDE and PPSD to really start digging deep to find ways that the school board, the city, and the district can work together so that when we get back to local control, it is even better than when we started with the state intervention. To your first question, are we closer than we were a year ago? I think definitely yes. I think it's going to require all of us to continue working closely together, communicating better, and being open and honest with each other, and trusting that we all have the residents of Providence and their best interests at heart. We might just come at that from different perspectives. I'm really proud of that work, and I hope that that's something that I can continue in whatever role I'm in on the board moving forward.
Any other committee members, questions? All right,
I
Councilor.
think the motion we approve number 5.
I was gonna ask if, can I just,
sorry. No,
can I withdraw that? Thank
I
you. Well, it wasn't seconded. Okay.
Okay.
Counselors, I just wanted your, is there anyone else that has anything? Yes.
Yeah, I'm happy to weigh in. I just want to thank you, Chairwoman, and thank Melissa for her longstanding work. I think the work of a board member, the work of an elected official, sometimes it requires little fanfare. And I would say that you're someone who has completely put your head down. You've done the work. I've seen the work that you've done on the school building committee, as well as your longstanding work, having worked with you as a parent in the PTO at Barton Gregorian. And I think your reputation precedes you. You have great relationships in the community, particularly when it comes to Region 1 in those schools. I appreciate the fact that you have 2 kiddos who have gone through our public school system, whether it's Barton, Nathan Bishop, as well as Classical. And I think that perspective and also that longstanding tenure and your expertise and insight is going to be a clear asset to the members of the Providence Public School Board. So I just want to thank you for your service. And I've been pretty clear about the fact that, you know, I'm gung-ho about supporting your nomination, and I'm hopeful that my colleagues will certainly do the same. So thank you again for your longstanding work on the school board, and looking forward to the continued collaboration.
Yes, Councilor Peterson.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. I actually have a quick question with regards to this coming year, do you have anything in particular that you're looking forward to? Is Take Back something that you absolutely are looking to have here? And also, do you see yourself being involved in different committees from the ones that you were in previously?
Those are
currently.
both great questions. I'm going to take your last question first. I think I'm not quite sure what my role should be next. I just this evening got to meet 2 of the other appointees that are coming before you tonight, and I haven't yet met everyone who was elected this fall. I know we have some, I'm really excited that we have some collaborative training coming up for all incoming board members with the Council on Great City Schools. And so I'm looking forward to that both so that we can all learn a lot, but also get to know each other a little bit before we're tasked with the work. I think that's going to be a really tremendous opportunity. And I think until I meet everyone, I want to be there to serve, and hopefully we can work out amongst ourselves what that's going to look like. And my apologies, Anselm Peterson, could you repeat that?
Yeah,
Question again?
it was kind of convoluted when I said it, so I'll try it again. What is your thought, your personal thought on Take Back? And where should we not see us in a position to do it, starting in 2025? What is your opinion? How should we move forward? What do you believe would be the next best step?
I think, I am not an expert on what exactly the timeline should be. I think that is up for debate. I think what I would share is that it's very clear that when we can try to get, the city entities, the board, the district, and RIDE to work together, that's what's going to make us successful. And I believe that all parties on all sides, including RIDE, it wants us to have local control back. And they've made some really clear parameters about what they're looking for. And I think that so long as we can keep communicating with each other, then we will be ready to take our skills back.
Thank you.
Counselor Sanchez.
One quick question.
Go ahead.
Melissa, how can the city council support the school board more? Or I know you had a year experience, and we all kind of get in our own little islands at times, and there's a lot of conversations about like funding and stuff, but like this year going forward, how do you think we can support you guys and work together in a more meaningful way?
That's an excellent question as well, Councilman. One thing I'm kind of excited about is, we're making this shift not only from a fully appointed board to this hybrid model that's half elected, half appointed. But now each member is representing a specific region. That's not to say that we don't all have responsibility for all students across our beautiful city. But I think I'm excited about the opportunity to get to work with the city, build some closer relationships with the city councilors in my region. All 3 of whom are sitting here this evening, as well as my elected counterpart in Region 1. I think that that's a really exciting opportunity to dig a little deeper and have build more collaboration and ways for us to understand what's happening instead of just attending each other's meetings or reading each other's media. I think that that's a new opportunity for us that we didn't have before necessarily as 9 at-large members.
Thank you.
Okay, and before we vote, I just would like, I forgot to mark it, this is exhibit 1, but we do have a letter of support of Melissa's appointment by the member-elect from Region 1, Corey Jones, who's also here this evening. Thank you very much, Corey, for attending. So I'd like to mark this as exhibit 1.
So moved.
Second.
All right, motion made by Counselor Sanchez, seconded by Counselor Andenbaugh. All in favor? Aye. All opposed. Okay, any motions on this appointment?
I'd like to make a motion to approve number 5.
Second.
Motion to approve made by Counselor Sanchez, seconded by Counselor Andenbaugh. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed. Thank you. Will be
Melissa.
recommending you to the
Congrats.
city council. Thank you so much. Okay, the next we have is Angel Newman. Hi, we're fine. How are you? We're gonna swear again. Hold on.
Raise your right hand. Please swear with the penalty of perjury that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. And please state your name and your address for the record.
Ashley Nunez Angel is my nickname, my son is not here, and my address is 86 Metropolitan Road, Providence, Rhode Island, 1990.
And welcome back. We really appreciate, we're excited that you, were appointed by the mayor. We certainly, got an opportunity to know you a year ago when you were here before the council, and we were enthusiastically supportive of you. So, as with Melissa, I'm gonna ask you if you could just kind of talk about, less about your background, because we have heard that before, unless counselors have specific questions, but more about, maybe some things you've learned this past year, how you've been involved, and I'm sure you're gonna receive some similar questions that you've heard, before, but I'm gonna let you start.
Absolutely, thank you, Chairman. Thank you, everybody, for having me here. It does feel like yesterday. So yeah, I won't give too much of the history, but maybe I will give a little bit of context even like for last year. So, it's wild because I had applied for the school board, while I was 8, 9 months pregnant last year. I gave birth, and then within about a week or two, I was on that PCTA stage, like talking about why I wanted to be on the school board. And everyone in my family and at work are like, why are you doing this? Like literally, like, why you just had a baby, like you should be on maternity leave. And I kind of think back, I'm like, why did I do that? Like truthfully, I was like, why did I do that? But when I think about that, I'm like, I did that because I believe in the young people of this city, and not only the young people of the city, but I believe in our teachers, I believe in our community partners, in our families, in our city proper, right? Like that, if there is gonna be systemic change, Providence is the perfect place to experiment with that, because we're so small and we're so intimate, and my goodness, like being on this school board, this is everything that was going through my head as I was answering this question for myself, like that we can actually make the change we want to see, not only in the city and in the state, but in the world that can happen here. And especially in this historic moment with the school takeover being in effect, I'm like, why wouldn't I want to do this? I have to do this. And not because I feel like I have the answers. I just know I really like people and I love people, and I feel like I have a superpower to see the good in people, even if I viscerally disagree with their position on something. And I feel like that's what I felt was needed in this moment, and what I heard was expressed by community and city and folks is like, everyone does want to do the right thing, right? But like the pathways to getting there feels like the obstacle. And so I think I saw myself as being a person who has the patience and also the perseverance to be able to help bridge some of those communication gaps and those relationships. That really are, adults needing to get their stuff together so we can be better for our kids. So over the last year, that's what I tried to do, and definitely not perfectly, but I think just trying to get to know my fellow board members. The way I was raised is that you listen a lot before you start talking, so I wasn't really the first person to always speak up in a board meeting, because I realized there's a lot of history and context that my first year on the board, being super new, I don't want to step on anyone's toes, and I also don't want to just get talking out of emotion and not having like facts in front of me. So last year, honestly, a lot of listening, was a lot of learning, was a lot of working with Melissa Hughes on the policy committee. Was definitely a lot of me giving my opinion, even when I was like, don't say your opinion. But on matters of equity, when it comes to our students, or when it comes to transparency that I feel like our community deserves, when it comes to what we're doing with our schools, I definitely had to speak up. And then also listen to the other side and try to balance, my assessment of what was happening. So, I feel like I have a lot more that I want to do this coming year, and really what I learned, being, a mom of 5 and having a brand new baby and being a new school board member while running an organization is tough. But I think what really crystallized for me in reflecting about my time last year is that if anything is really gonna happen, it needs to happen between the board meetings. You can't wait as board members to just have the conversation like at the monthly meetings. There's a lot of organizing and relationship building and work that has to happen between. So then hopefully during those meetings, it's a report out and it's voting, right? And that was happening in between. So I think going forward, that is my focus, is doing that work in between the meetings. Not counting myself out or, you know, letting myself get counted out in conversations that I know I can be useful in. And I think just, stepping in to the work in a different way. Now that my baby is a year and 2 months and driving me crazy, so that's where,
Wonderful.
yeah.
Thank you so much. All right, committee members, I'll start with you. Any questions and anything and also, yes? Counselor Vanderbilt.
Thank you, and thank you so much for serving, Angela. You've been doing a great job, and we're so excited to meet you last year. I'm glad you're back. Glad you decided to go back up on the stage. And I was glad to see your name, come forward. For Miguel's or Councilman Sanchez's question before about the return to local control, do you have any opinions on where you feel like we are in that process and how you as a school board member will be involved in that?
Yeah, I think in terms of where we are in the process, I need to figure out where we actually are in the process and how possible it will be to have the schools within our control by 2025. I think my opinion hasn't changed much since last year, and I believe that the families and the students need to be at the front of what they want their schools to look like. That can only happen if it's within local control, because as we've seen over the last couple of years, regardless of really good intent and great efforts, that is not the sentiment and that's not the feeling that families and students have. And so we know generally, even when school districts have control, that's a barrier, never mind when there's a couple levels removed from the local. So my feeling has been and will continue to be that we need immediate control. Because if not now, then when? Like we need to actually, and it needs to be thoughtful and we need to have a plan to make sure it can be sustained. So for me, as long as there's a plan that says we can manage the staffing and the finances and responsibly take control of the school district, that the students and families deserve to have voice and power and autonomy over and within, it needs to happen as soon as possible.
Thank you. Okay, any counselors, questions? All right.
Make a motion to approve number 6.
I think
Well,
Counselor-
Oh, yes.
Oh, no,
yes,
I just want to say thank you for your optimism and for all that you do. I'm just so grateful for the work that you do outside of the school board too, as just your work at AS 220. And I'm always so curious to hear about this specifically from you. What's your vision, big or small? What are you most excited about this year on the school board? Did you get reappointed?
I'm really excited about, working within my region a bit more intimately and working with, should I, this all work out. I hope it does tonight, being able to, I'm sorry, I don't have the grace that I should have. I'm really excited to be able to work with, my Region 2 elected member, Michelle Font. We actually go back as friends and, on the Intruders, West End Intruders, as teen moms. And from then, and yeah, both of our kids were on the same football team, actually with Tyrell Stevens' parents. From then, the work that we did as teen moms, we actually advocated to change the word to teen coordinators, where we're actually coordinating all the transportation, like we're not just baking cookies, let's be real. The work that we were doing was never just about football then, it was about creating a community that is safe, that has adult support, that is, empowered and fueled by youth voice. And getting to work with her again in that capacity, I have no doubt that Region 2 will be well together.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, all right.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve number 6.
Second.
A motion to approve made by Counselor Taylor, seconded by Counselor Sanchez. All in favor?
Aye.
There's music
All
for you, too.
opposed?
It's a
Thank
banger
you so
too.
much. Okay, next I'd like to call Jenny Marcotte. Oh, if you just stand for just a second, we'll swear you in.
Raise your right hand. You swear under penalty of perjury that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. And please state your name and address. for the
Jenny
record.
Marcotte, 12 Marshall Street, Providence. Have a seat. Thank you so much. And before
Make the
we
amendment.
start, I need to have a motion to amend because we have apparently incorrectly stated your address. Is that correct? Madam Clerk?
The spelling of Montrose and then also apartment 3 was left out on the original
Okay.
one.
if we can have a motion to amend so we can accurately reflect the address, I would appreciate it. Is there a motion? Motion to amend. Okay.
Second.
A motion to amend made by Counselor Anderbog, seconded by Counselor Taylor. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Wonderful. And thank you so much for joining us this evening. We're very excited to meet you. If you can just tell us a little bit about your background and why it is you want to serve on the school board. We're very happy that you've been appointed by the mayor, and we're just using this as an opportunity to get to know you and ask you a few questions if we have any.
Good evening. Thank you so much, everyone. My name is Jenny Mercado. I wrote this because I'm nervous. But my name is Jenny Mercado. I'm from Providence, from Nicaragua. When I was 15 years old, I was immersed in the new world when I first came to the United States. I was the oldest. I learned the language here in Providence. I navigated the school system with my mom and my brother and my sister. I became the translator for my brother and my mom's. I also graduated from Mount Pleasant High School back in 2006. And I wanted to serve the Providence School Board because I believe in every student's serve access to high quality education, no matter the background, like myself, or the circumstances. As a mother, because I'm a mother of twins daughters, immigrant and community advocate, I've experienced firsthand the challenges families face when navigating our school system, from registration their children to advocate for better resources. Professionally, I have many hats that I wear. My first full-time job is a nursing assistant at the Children's Emergency Room. I've been there for 15 years. I also work at the Woonasquetaquie Watershed Council, and I lead a program called Nuevas Voces, where we bring residents from the Oliver area to learn how to advocate and become leaders. And here I am, approval of that because I'm in front of you guys today. I also opened a nonprofit called Hermandad por Nicaragua, where I help Nicaraguans that just moved to Providence and how to get a job, how to register their children, most importantly. And that is one of the reasons why I wanted to serve on the school board. And I'm deeply committed to my, I also forgot to mention, I'm currently working on an app called Vecina, which is neighbor in English. Where on the app, we're gonna have 3 layers where we will have education, resources, and help, where community members can learn how to navigate and how to register and how to get insurance and what's in our Oliver area. I also am deeply committed to all insurance that all families, especially those from underserved and bilingual communities, have a voice in shaping the future of our schools. I wanted to focus on improving the school registration process, expanding access to pre-K, and creating stronger partnership between parents, teachers, and administrators. Transparency and equity must guide every decision we make, no child left behind. And my goal is to be the bridge between families and resources they need, helping to build schools that empower students, uplift communities, and create opportunities for brighter future. Together, we can ensure that Providence schools meet the needs of every student and prepare them for success.
Wow. Thank you so much for that, because that is, oh my goodness, we're very lucky to have you. That's all I'm going to say, and I'm going to open it up for any questions from anyone. Any of the counselors, anyone have any questions or comments?
I mean, just a basic question, would be like, what are some of the things you're looking to accomplish, rather sooner than later on?
Next will be my first year serving at the school board, and one of the things I would like to focus is learn from each other and from all my members, my fellow members, because you know, they've been the one who's been serving the school board for the longest, and also to make sure I use my voice to bring those that, you know, back home in the house because of language, because of time, they don't have time to meet with our school teachers. That is what I would like to make sure I do that I can be the one who bring that voice, just like my Nuevas Voces program, Holy Voices.
And I would just like to add, Chairwoman, you know, it's awesome to hear, you know, Jenny's experience in the community, her work, but as someone who's like seen it in person for the past few years, and I work at the Ownerville Neighborhood Association and her work in the Ownerville Resiliency Hub, it's just amazing, and I really appreciate you, Jenny, for applying to this appointment. I think you're an amazing community member. And yeah, I'm happy to support your nomination.
Thank you. I also forgot to mention that I am one of the founders of the Holy Resilient Hub. I'm really proud of that because there's gonna be the new hub where community members can come and ask for resources. So I'm really proud of that too. But thank you, Councilman Sanchez, for your words.
Oh, is there a motion?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, yes, I'm
Very
sorry.
so fast, and then I'll make a motion.
No worries.
I just wanted
Not
to,
meaning to rush you.
I just wanted to thank you for applying. You are amazing. This is an amazing body of work. I'm just really grateful that you're willing to serve. And I think that's the first time we've ever pre-clapped. Mark, so I just want you to know that is like, that does not happen. You're like, oh my God. Just so you know. And with that, motion to approve.
Second.
All right, a motion to approve the appointment has been made by Councilor Vanderbaugh, seconded by Councilor Taylor. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, all opposed. We will be forwarding our recommendation for your appointment, and thank you so much for your willingness to serve.
Thank you so much.
Okay, and the next, we have 19, please help me pronounce the last name. Thank you, thank you.
Please raise your right hand. You swear under penalty of perjury that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Yes.
Please state your name again for the record and your address.
19 Muhina Bob 503 Emerald Avenue, Providence, Rhode Island.
Thank you so much for joining us. We're very excited to hear from you this evening, get to know you, and we very much appreciate that you've been appointed by the mayor, and we're hoping that we will be forwarding what Mike is going to say. I can only anticipate that this is going to be a wonderful opportunity for us to support your candidates or your appointment.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chairwoman Anthony, and the member of the city council. My name is Nigel Moingabo. I'm the young champion for refugee at the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugee, and also a board members at the Refugee Dream Center. In 1996, when the genocide happened in Rwanda, my family fled in Congo for this refugee camp, where I was born and raised for 15 years. About 8 years ago, we were likely given status by the former president, Barack Obama. And when we came here, my community in Region 4, they really helped me learn English and also succeed in high school as well. I went to Central High School. I did very well in school, did a lot of community services, and I received a full scholarship to attend any school that I wanted. When the John Hopson report came out, I was concerned about the direction of our school departments. There was a lack of transparency, and I wanted the African communities and the refugee community to have a voice as well, and also to be a bridge for them. So I worked with Wright in the former superintendent. I joined the community advisory board and worked with the former mayor, and he appointed me to the school board. Since I joined the school board as a finance members, I immediately worked with the school and the school departments, and also the member of the finance committee. We passed a contract of consultation services, which is why the district forces every year. And also the second year, I was appointed by the President early, as I told him, I expressed to him that I want to prioritize our students' mental health. I was appointed as the chair of a health and awareness committee. I was able to work to create the physical activity subcommittee, the nutrition, and also the healthy relationship. When I was able to work with Wright, we were able to we created smart clinics in the schools. Every year we have a mental health fair with 400 and students here at this year in spring. One of the things I'm really proud of with the school board, I'm pretty sure that you guys heard about graduation inflation. There was about a group of counselors that sent me and other board member transcript about refugee students, and they created, frankly, some students that wasn't doing well. And we approached Wright, we informed them, basically Wright, we're just passing students. students wouldn't show up and there's no record of their assignments. And somehow on the transcript, it's straight A's, but there's no attendance. And we work with the mayor office, the white did an independent investigation, and they were able to close the program with the condition of the new board, right? Reopen the program on the new policies. And I'm here today to ask to be reappointed to the school board and for your support, because I think that we need to focus on solutions. The reality is the state takeover has been a complete failure. Some of our students cannot read. And I think that that's why we need bilingual educations. I think that 50% of our school should be bilingual. We started an experiment at the Leviton Elementary Schools. Students there, they're learning in half a day in English and half a day in Spanish. The reading level is amazing. Family engagement, and that's what I want. We can, I know the governor and why they created the an attendance campaign to fight on the autism, that's amazing. But I think that bilingual education would really help us, not just increase the reading level for our students, but also to inspire students to come to schools.
Thank you. Wonderful. And how long have you been serving on the school board again? If you could just,
4 years.
4 years. All right. We haven't met, so I'm very happy to meet you. And thank you for your service. I'm going to open it up for questions. Anyone have any questions or comments? Yes, Councilor Sanchez.
Thank you, Nigel. What are some of the things you want to accomplish in the next year, 2 years?
What my priority right now, I want to work with the city council and the mayor office, and frankly, the general assemblies. We need our school back. You know, I've been with the mayor position by July 1st, and I've been in 4 years. I've seen the retaliation coaches. We've been in a meeting in the health and awareness. Teachers will come, they hide behind the camera because they want to speak up because they will get fired, you know. Students cannot read. The state took our school for 6 years. There's no result. What I'm proud of because of the building that they were doing construction around the city. I think that's amazing. But I think that also we need to focus to increase our students' reading level. So first, understand take over and also expand bilingual education and also prioritize our students' mental health.
That's good. Yes.
No, thank you. I strongly support that opinion as well personally. I think we definitely need a local control back yesterday if possible. And not really a question, more of a comment to really all the school board members here. And I see the superintendent, shout out to Javier Martinez for being here. I'm gonna try to speak as general as possible. There's a new administration in this country, and it's becoming very clear that our public schools are gonna be a possible target for, in my opinion, very inappropriate, unjust activities. So I would ask you all, with our support, I know there's a few counselors doing this work, to really strengthen our policies, to stand up and do whatever we can from our positions of power to protect our youth here in the city. Definitely reach out any way we can support. We're here to work together.
Thank you so much.
And I'm saying because I know you do so much work around this already, Nigeria. I greatly appreciate it.
Thank you. A lot of our community members, they are scared. To send their schools, to schools when they are out work. I think that we need people, the school board, and also the city council to keep out these positive messages because this is their city too.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes, Councilor
I
Peterson.
just want to make a comment. 19, I'm a fan. To start off with, I'm a fan. You probably don't know this, but Omar and Teddy were neighbors of mine for many years, and I saw the idea of what Refugee Dream Center was when it was just an idea become this beautiful space for our community and the people that are coming into our community. And I've watched you from afar and the different things that you've done there. And now I think you're the president of the board, right? Yes. I want to commend you. You are the embodiment of a true representative of the city, of the community, of the city of Providence. And I want to give you your kudos and your flowers because you absolutely deserve them. I appreciate when you stand up for something, you mean it and you say it, but you're also willing to understand that there's work to be done on the other end, and you're willing to do it. And you learned a lot of lessons at your young age that some of us are taking a little bit longer to do, I think, but, and I say that about me. But I just wanted to say thank you because you're a true advocate for students, you're a true advocate for the city. And, I commend you for everything that you've done. So that's it.
Yes. Yes.
Thank you, Madam
Councilor
Chair.
Small.
Thank you, thank you. I actually want to thank Mayor Smiley. I think you hit it on the mark with this candidate, with this appointment. They're all super excited, very bright. Najee particularly, because he represents my ward, which is 8, 9, and 10. I'm a Ward 10. And during the summer, before the election, I saw him knocking, I think he knocked on every door. Would tell me how much he wanted this, and he's very committed, very determined. And I think that if he brings that type of determination and commitment to the school board, I have no doubt that he will accomplish what he wants to accomplish within the board. So I'm super excited forward to working. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Certainly, yes.
Thank
Councilor
you, Chairwoman.
Gonzalez.
I just want to thank you for your service and echo everything that's been already said. I think your representation is so critical on the board, and just want to thank you for your focus on bilingual education and for bringing that mission forward. So thank you for your willingness to serve again, and let's go get him.
Okay, with that,
I'd like to make a motion, we approve number 8.
Second.
okay, motion to approve made by Councilor Taylor and seconded by Councilor Vanderbilt. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, all opposed. I have to thank you for your service. With that, I'm going to call Stephen Williamson to be sworn in.
You swear under penalty of perjury that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. And please state your name and your address.
Pardon me, sorry, Stephen Williamson, 51 Camden Ave, Providence.
Hey, Stephen, thank you so much for joining us. This is a wonderful opportunity, as I've said with the other, new candidates for us to get to know you, just know a little bit about your background, why you want to serve. Congratulations on your appointment. And, I'm gonna turn it over to you.
All right, I guess just a little bit about my background. I started kind of being involved with my community when I was younger as an activist when I used to live in Massachusetts. And since moving to Rhode Island, I've been involved in some different nonprofit work and helped to start Project Weber, which went on to merge from Weber and Italy. And I've been involved in some public health work, most recently working in the Department of Health. I also went back as an adult and ended up getting a PhD in political science. I taught political science and public policy at various points. I have some knowledge around that. But really the reason I'm here is because I love Providence and I think it's a great city and I think that we deserve to have great schools. And I don't have any children myself, but I get frankly annoyed by people who think that if you don't have children, you shouldn't care. You don't have enough to care about what's going on in the schools and what kind of an education people are getting. And you know, I just feel like it's absolutely it's just absolutely horrific that we have children who are not being given the opportunity to reach their full potential and just so short-sighted as a society, like not to give everybody a shot at a good education. You know, even for selfish reasons, but I think, but beyond that, I just think a good education is a human right, and education is just central to a high quality of life, and I think everybody deserves that. And honestly, you know, I realize that there are immense challenges ahead of the school committee. And I'm willing to roll up my sleeves and do the work, and I know that there's gonna be a lot of work and not a lot of, maybe initially, we're not gonna see, huge results. But I think Providence can have the best schools in the country, and I think that should be our goal. And I'm frankly, honored and humbled by the crowd that's currently constituting the school board. So, I'm really looking forward to the opportunity to participate in that and to do whatever I can to contribute to that. So.
Thank you very much. May I just follow up on the nonprofits? Are you currently working with some nonprofits? And if so, can you, or even your work, nonprofit work?
So
Who have you been
I was on the
working
board of directors for Weber Renew for a period of time.
Yeah.
And then I worked at the nonprofit in Massachusetts, which I finished with, but it was a nonprofit called Review Recovery, which was organized around providing a drop-in center for people with substance use disorder.
Okay, and then the follow-up question is, I think you've already answered it, but you want to elaborate on, why it is you chose this particular time to get involved with the school board?
Well, I knew that they were having elections for the first time, and I looked into it at the time, and I was confident that there were enough competent people running for those offices. So I didn't need to become involved in that process. And my city councilor actually, in conversation with her, suggested that I might consider putting my name for an appointment. So, I've lived in Smithfield for let's see, 20 something years at this point, across from the Kazarian school. And I'm just tired of feeling bad for the kids going in there.
Okay, all right. Counselors? Questions? Yes.
Can you talk, thank you for applying and for being part of this process. Can you talk a little bit about your opinions on the return to local control?
So I think we need to return the schools to local control as soon as possible. Having said that, and conscious of the fact that I'm putting myself in the mix to be part of that process, I think the sooner it happens, in a sense, the more work we're gonna have to do. And we're really gonna, if the schools are coming back this summer, which is I think, hope, I think we're gonna have a lot of work ahead of us, just in terms of making sure that we're across all of the details and that we're ready to take that on, and that we don't let anything fall between the cracks. There's a lot of unglamorous stuff, I'm sure, that needs to be done to make that happen, and I'm looking forward to helping with that. Yeah, I think the sooner the better. I don't see any reason to put it off.
Yeah.
So.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
I'd like to make a motion to approve number 9.
Second.
Motion to approve made by Councilor Taylor, seconded by Councilor Amberball. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Thank you very much. Okay. Councilors, I would like to take a motion to take item number 4 out of order.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Motion to take number 4 out of order by Councilor Taylor, seconded by Councilor Sanchez. All in favor? Aye. Aye. All opposed? And that we have. Nicole Pollock is coming to us. All right, thank you, everyone. Thank you. Congratulations.
Nicole Pollock in 86 Congress Ave, Providence, Rhode Island.
Have a seat.
Great.
you've been at the other end of this table so often. We miss you, and I miss you, and I'm happy to see you being appointed to the Providence Public Building Authority. So I'm sure many of you already know, Paul's background, but I'm gonna let you, give us, just a little idea of what you've been doing since you last time to City Hall, but also, why Providence Public Building Authority, and maybe in doing this, you could explain exactly to some of us what exactly the Providence Public Building Authority does.
Yeah, great. And I think you have another agenda item, on the building authority, so they might be, better equipped than I. But thank you for having me, Chairwoman and members of the committee. Obviously, I worked for the city for almost 8 years, and it's been about 2 years or a little over 2 years since I left. I have been working for a national education, nonprofit and political organization that works to improve public education for children across the United States, and our focus is on electing Democrats who prioritize education in their platforms. So I've worked mainly in the South, in DC, and in some states in New England. I have my office based here. I still serve on several boards here. I serve on the Downtown Providence Parks Network Board. I serve on the Achievement First Board. And I am before you for this board appointment now. I also live in South Providence and have 2 young children.
And why is it that you want to serve on this board?
I probably am one of the few people in the city who would be really thrilled to serve on this particular board. A huge part of my role when I worked for the city was working on capital planning and capital spending. I think one of the most important ways to transact equity in cities is through how you spend your capital dollars. I think everyone deserves, and it's one of the fairest and most just ways to run a city, is to make sure that the assets of the city, the way streets look, sidewalks look, parks look, where that money goes is just one of the most important things that you can do. And I believe that when I worked for Mayor Gorza, and I believe it today, and this board has a huge fiduciary responsibility in ensuring capital dollars are spent properly, and plays a big role in a lot of the projects that are important to this committee right now. And so I'm excited to play a role in that, and also to continue to invest in a passion I have. My current role doesn't really give me a huge opportunity to work on.
I will say personally, I'm thrilled. But anyway, I am gonna open it up for questions, comments. Anyone have any questions for Nicole? Well, I am.
Thanks for the opportunity.
Well, we're very, very excited. So is
I
there?
make a motion, we approve number 4.
Second. Motion made by Councilor Taylor, seconded by Councilor Anderson, all in favor? Aye. All opposed. Thank you so much. Thank you. Okay. Page 28.
Let's see.
Okay, we'll start with item number 1.
An ordinance of the city of Providence approving improvements to the Providence Water Supply Board distribution system and appurtenances thereto, including but not limited to the cleaning, relining, repair, and replacement of water mains, transmission lines, service lines, and valves, and approving the financing thereof by the issuance of water revenue bonds and notes, therefore in an amount not to exceed $20 million.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for coming this evening. Nice to see you again. We'll swear you in.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear under penalty of perjury that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you. And please state your names and your titles for the record. Great.
We don't page in the director.
You can go with it. So, thank you so much. Please proceed.
Okay, thank you very much.
Madam Chair, for having us today. So, the $21 million that we're seeking is for two major water main replacement. We would have rehabilitation projects. One of them consists of 8 miles of unlined cast iron main that we're relining with a water coated cement. And in the Trinity area of Trinity Square area of Providence. And that estimated cost is about $16.2 million. The second project is a 5.3 mile project of relining unlined cast iron mains in section of South Providence at an estimated cost of $4.2 million.
I'm sorry, I was distracted by the door. And this, is this, I'm sorry, this is a series, there are phases happening in this, replacement in this line.
Yes, so
Tell me where we are.
yeah, so the first phase of the Trinity area, we went in and placed the lead services. Now we're coming back and we're gonna be having rehabilitating the excuse me, the piping that's in the streets. So we go in first, we take out the lead services, and then we'll come back the following year and line the pipe.
Yeah. All right. Any, I'm gonna open it up, questions? Anyone have any questions regarding this issue?
I wasn't excited. I remember it. Did.
Okay, you give us 1 minute, we've been distracted by the.
Sorry.
No worries.
I'm clapping in the door and no, I think you actually.
And just so we know, you're obtaining the financing from, the Rhode Island Infrastructure Bank.
Yeah.
That's correct.
Okay, good.
Actually, can I ask one question?
Yes, please.
Since you guys have come to us, and thank you for being here for that description. You've come to us several times for large amounts of money through the infrastructure bank. Does any of this impact? Does the sum total of what you're asking for impact our ability to borrow or your ability to get those grants from the infrastructure bank? It's just several very large quantities, and I just want to make sure that that is, we're able to do the work and it's not impeding your ability to.
It's not.
Okay.
Okay, all right, any other questions? Okay, your motion.
Make a motion to approve number 1.
Second.
Motion to approve made by Councilor Taylor, seconded by Councilor Sanchez, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, well, thank you very much. No,
I'm clapping for them. I'm clapping for them. They're saying, thank God we're out of here.
Yeah, they're nice.
I know, you know. Well, one step closer.
All right, so, Madam Clerk, please read agenda item number 2.
Resolution authorizing approval of the agreement by and among Town of Foster and the Providence Water Supply Board, an enterprise fund of the City of Providence, the Providence Public Buildings Authority, and the City of Providence relative to the tax agreement for the Town of Foster.
Okay, and I believe we have an amendment, and I think the amendment, my understanding of the amendment is that it is actually the signed agreement rather than the unsigned agreement that we have in our packet.
So in the header,
In the header, yes.
it's both the signed agreement, but in the header, I think something was left out.
The public building authority is not included.
Oh, okay, and the public building authority should have been included.
No, they took it out. They
Oh,
took it
I'm
out
sorry.
in the
Okay,
substitute.
I was gonna say, really? Okay, all right, so that is the substitute. May I have a motion to amend?
So moved.
Second.
There is a motion to amend made by Councilor Sanchez, seconded by Councilor Anderball, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, all opposed. All right, thank you. Now that we have the amendment done, please proceed.
Thank you. So we are looking for approval for the new tax agreement with Foster. Our current agreement expired December 31st, 2024. This agreement will be a 10-year agreement. And it will take us through 2033.
There is approximately 2,200 acres of land in Foster. What we're looking to do is have an agreement on a fixed rate. So the rate is in your packet, but it's 402,950 to 573,534. And basically what that does is it takes our current tax rate for this year, 2024, and it adds 4% plus one property that wasn't included in the past treaty, and add 4%. So every year from going forward, it can be increased as much as 4%. If for some reason their taxes don't go up 4%, and they only go up 3%, our rate would only go up 3%, and from there forward. If they ask the legislature to get an increase in tax over 4%, we would then go up that amount. So basically, that's what it says, that the state law is 4% right now, so the max that could go up. So that's what we've set in this agreement, is those max rates, but it could end up coming to be less if they only ask for 3%. There, if we obtain additional properties, they will not be taxed. Those are the rates that's set for the next 10 years. So if there's improvements on lands, those are the rates, they cannot raise those amounts. Our cluster agrees to classify our land as forest land. The agreement can be extended for an additional 10 years. Our Providence water and supply water approve this. And afterwards. I just have a couple of questions, if you don't mind, maybe members. I'm sorry, the properties in Foster. And these are actually that we're occupying or owning these properties in Foster. Is that what you're saying, the Providence waters?
Yeah.
And what are we doing on these properties? Open space. Okay. Okay. And the purpose of that, of owning these properties? They're around.
Watershed protection.
Yeah, waters. Okay, all right. And I'm just asking, I mean, so when you say we may be adding to this list, can someone explain why that is? So there's no intent for right now to add, but should a property come available that we could purchase, that we would want to protect that land, we could purchase that. And I'm just curious, why? I mean, I'm just wondering why we would be, I mean, protect the watershed, but I'm just saying, is there a process you go through, a thought process in terms of making that decision as to whether you're gonna acquire that property? Yeah, yes, well, if you could be sworn in.
Oh, sure, sorry. I do. Great, Jason. Thanks, thank you, sorry. So,
No, I appreciate you
Yeah.
answering it.
yeah, so we do, so the town of Foster, city of Gloucester, all surround the Citrus Reservoir. So we do have a scoring system that we put together that rates different properties within those areas. And so if a property may become available and it scores high on that scoring list, we may look to purchase it. Now, Foster will probably pretty, we've probably purchased most of our, not all the properties that we might go forward. But there may be a property going forward that we say, okay, that's in this area, has a lot of runoff into the reservoir. Protecting that and not having development on that property may work better for Providence water, and then we'll look to maybe purchase it. So there's an entire scoring system. I mean, we actually have a committee internally that sits on that and has a scoring system.
And the second question now I'm gonna be asking, so what is the assessed value of all the properties together? That's very.
It's a lot more than what we're paying. I should say is it's open space. And so with they in the past, I think they assessed it at much like a commercial property. So, I'm sorry, we assessed it at a commercial property, so we've been in agreement that, look, this is what we'll pay, you know, going forward on those properties.
In the past agreement, that we went off a set assessed value of 8,400 an acre. With that, as they reassess properties, that really wasn't working for Foster because they were losing a ton of money. So actually what we had been paying them started going down, which was hurting the town. It was hurting the other residents in Foster because their taxes had to keep going up to cover our more large portion. So they really asked for us to look at, can we do this set rate that increases with the percentage? Let me, one more question, then I'll turn it over. So, in doing your analysis, so I'm assuming, I mean, I'd like to know how much, if the properties were taxed, yes, according to the assessed value and applying the tax rate. What is the savings that to you and to us? What is the savings in entering this agreement?
Yeah, we'd have to look at
Yeah,
that.
we have to look at that.
Okay, because I'm assuming that in this tax agreement, it's gotta be they're able to tax without the agreement, right? And so there has to be, some sort of benefit, I would think, to us to be signing this agreement. So I'd like to know, you can't really act on this, in my opinion. I'm not gonna let everyone else ask their questions, but I'd like to know how much we're saving and entering this agreement. Counselor Annabelle.
Thank you. I just have a few questions. One, thank you again for being here. And for all you do to protect the watershed around the Situate Reservoir, which is really important work. Is this basically like a payment in lieu of taxes between us and Foster? Because you guys are a non-taxable entity, like you otherwise wouldn't be paying taxes. These are voluntary tax agreements or no?
We pay taxes in Johnston, we pay taxes in Cranston. So it's a tax agreement,
Okay.
not in lieu of taxes.
Oh, okay. And I think you were getting at this, or I'm sorry, but how much of the watershed is still unpurchased?
Off the top of my head, I think we probably have to say, we probably have 90 square miles of 90, is that right?
93 square miles.
92 square miles of watershed. I think we own approximately 26, 27.
Okay.
So it's a pretty big area.
And do you always like purchase, or do you sometimes just buy the development rights?
Yes,
Okay.
we actually prefer the development rights, conservation rights, but if the property owner wants to sell, we'll purchase it.
Okay. And then, is it okay, guys?
Yes, please.
You mentioned a 10-year extension, so would the process be in 10 years, you would have to come back to get that re-signed, or is there something in here that, I'm not a lawyer, so my apologies, but where you could just execute that without the council, or would you have to come back for approval in 10 years?
It says that, the language of this could be, extended. I believe we would have to come back here, but we wouldn't have to go back and negotiate with
Foster, okay. The preference would be for there to be some oversight, not just like a continuous extension would be. And then, okay. And can I just make sure I understood two things correctly? One is, actually, three things, sorry. Did you say that if they went to, if the city or the town, city, sorry, my bad. Foster's very nice. If the town of Foster went to the General Assembly to go above the 4% tax levy, would we then also increase above 4% in what we're paying? Okay. Okay, that's concerning. And then does Foster earmark this for, I guess, when I thought it was a pilot, I was wondering if they were earmarking this for anything in particular, the fact that we're paying this, but it's just going into their general revenue, it seems.
Yeah.
they need it.
Yeah.
They need it
I think
really
it's
bad,
a
yeah.
large portion of their revenue.
Okay,
I don't know the exact number, but we pay a good portion of taxes down.
yeah, because so much of their land is undevelopable because of.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
And I guess the last question I have is the new version we have is signed. But obviously this doesn't get executed until the approval happens, which is why the mayor and us have signed it. Okay, okay. Okay, I think those were my main questions.
Yes, Councilor.
Just to clarify, So if the town of Foster increases their rate by 1%. This goes by 1%. So it goes just comparison to whatever they do. And then just to confirm, so all of this is like forest land, there's no buildings or anything on any of this? What is it situated where your guys' like facilities are at?
Yes.
Is that like nearby here or is it like,
Yeah, Foster,
Yeah.
so the Citrus Reservoir is
Yeah.
enormous.
Yeah.
It's, so the land around it that feeds it is the watershed.
Yeah.
Is in Foster, is in Gloucester, is in Situate. So these areas, ultimately, water that falls in Foster ends up in the Citrus Reservoir. So it's to our benefit to not have development there.
Right.
It ultimately helps keep the water clean, keeps our treatment costs down. So that's why these areas have been purchased by Providence Water.
so do you have similar agreements with
Yes.
Gloucester and?
Situate. We have them. Really well.
No.
No, so we have one with Foster and one with Situate as well.
And like the rate is pretty similar?
I think we base this off of Situate.
Yeah, we did.
So the point of if the town, wants to. Bring Amazon in for when they need an extreme amount of tax revenue and they use this as an opportunity to get more. Is there precedent for that? Like, was that similar component part of the last agreement? And was that also in the agreement with Gloucester? I'm sorry.
With Situate.
Yeah,
Is what
if they go in above the 4%, correct?
Yeah, I think that's
The same way.
same language as
Yeah, that you guys
Situate.
have, okay.
Yeah.
That's it, thank you.
Sure.
I'm not sure if we're ready to say, but I do want to thank you for like your work to preserve the land around the watershed. One, because that's important and that's important ecosystem and it's great for the water, and also it's way cheaper for us to be doing that than for you to build tons of treatment facilities to get all the disgusting stuff out of the water. So thank you for going at this approach. I appreciate it.
And just so we can be, clear, this is not tax exempt, so we do owe the property taxes in Foster, okay? And you don't have any answer tonight as to, how this benefits the city in terms of total month. I mean, I'm interested as to why again it is we're entering into a tax agreement at all, I guess with Foster. And I guess Situate also, but what is the benefit for us, for
So
Providence Water and also for the city?
what's the rate? The rate's 8,400, you said?
Currently, yes.
Currently, what will be the rate we pay once we sign the agreement?
So we're not paying a assessed value rate.
Assessed
any
value.
longer. We're paying
Right.
a percentage.
It's a fee,
They're flat fee.
flat fee going forward. So if they were to tax us at whatever it is, 8,400, it would be much more than what we're paying now, correct?
It depends on how they assess.
Okay,
Um,
yeah, so I
Yeah,
think the
it's
answer,
pretty neutral, I think, depending on all that, but if the 84 is an agreed rate, so what is it actually, what is actually assessed? That's what I would need to figure out, which I assume is higher than the.
Okay.
it would be higher. And so, again, the reason is that Foster is a small town that pretty much Providence Water owns a good portion of the property in that town. And if we were to just say, yeah, tax us at the forest land, the town would go bankrupt. So this was we thought was a reasonable solution between the two, where you could charge, we could pay whatever it was, the 8,400, 85, whatever the number was, that charge there, or that tax levy, or the difference between that, and we said, okay, or if it's forest land, and we're gonna pay them pennies on the dollars, we said, this is a reasonable number, we paid them we took what we paid them the last year of the former tax agreement, and I think we raised it up by a certain percentage, right, 4%, 5%.
Yeah.
So we felt that it was a kind of a good compromise between either gutting the town or paying exorbitant taxes. And we went back, I was involved, but when we fostered, what happened was, they were charging us that exorbitant rate. We said, this doesn't work, we're supposed to be paying forest land on this. And the town had to pay us back, they nearly went bankrupt.
I'm just gonna say, I certainly understand. We need to see the analysis. I
Okay.
mean, we don't have it, in my opinion, and my counselors, my committee members may disagree. But, we need that analysis, I think, you know, before we can act upon this. If you also want to provide us with Situate, I don't know if you have other tax agreements or whatever. So we can better understand what you're doing, but I just, based on what we have in front of us, I'm not sure that we have enough to act on. So, I don't know if the auditor has anything you'd like to add at this point, but I'm sorry I didn't recognize you earlier. I didn't see you. Okay.
But I have to look at the town of Foster and other developed properties that are under the city of Providence. And if they're not taxing based on the, rate of 2067, I have that we would be paying for 500,000 in taxes. And this agreement starts at 402,000, and assuming that this $1 million is going to increase, as long as it doesn't increase more than 4%, or that the increase of profits, I think that becomes that's okay. Based on that.
Yes, Chief, Mancini, would you like to be sworn in? Thank you.
Please swear in the penalty of perjury that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I mean, Wallace Mancini, Chief Financial Officer, City of Providence. Madam Chair, members of the committee, as I heard the testimony, I had the opportunity to review some of the information that the auditor had done, and that's an accurate figure. It's at least $503,000, as you heard from the testimony this evening. What it also includes is a provision that if any additional properties were acquired by the water supply company for further watershed protection, those properties would not be added to the town of Foster's tax roll, thereby sparing additional levy, additional taxes that would have been involved had we paid taxes at the normal rate. So I think over a 10-year period, I might say, we're here this evening with the Public Building Authority. Members of the Public Building Authority, myself included, can recall that the Public Building Authority was brought into existence 40 years ago, specifically to provide financing for watershed acquisition to protect the water surrounding the city reservoir, including in the towns of Foster and Gloucester. I recall that personally, and so the acquisitions could happen if more property became available. I think the water supply board is positioned to do that, and they should. Over a 10-year period, remains to see what that number would be, whether it would not be added under this agreement to further taxation. I think right now at the number that they're speaking of, plus the 4% revision, in my opinion, I believe it's an adequate and viable agreement.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Tough one.
Madam Auditor, do you have anything you'd like to add? Okay, yes, yes. Counselor
If this is-
Ingebrigtsen.
Already been signed by parties, is there a time constraint, or if it were continued, would that be fine? Or would you guys be like,
No.
That's my technical question.
Again, they just switched over, they just had their own elections.
Okay, so, yeah.
If you don't mind coming back, I mean, I'm just asking.
Chairwoman,
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, I definitely agree. I think like in theory, I think what you guys doing by switching to this makes sense. But I think it is a little, maybe concerning isn't the right word, but I would like to see you guys present the numbers of like, this is what we would be paying if we were in the same, frame of the last contract, and this is what we're gonna be doing. I think as finance members, I would feel a little more comfortable, moving forward, especially if there's not a major, time constraint added to it. It's kind of where I'm at.
Motion to continue. Motion to continue made by Counselor Ingebrigtsen. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Counselor Sanchez. All in favor? Aye. All opposed. Thank you so much. We appreciate all your testimony this evening. We're on to agenda item 3.
Resolution authorizing approval of the following contract award by the Board of Contract and Supply in accordance with section 2126B1 and 2. Agostini Construction Incorporated, $1,309,374.
Director, how are you? Nice to see you.
Please make sure I think it's the penalty of perjury that the testimony you're about to provide is the truth, truth and nothing but the truth. And your name for the record. please, for the position.
Hey. Please have a seat. Thank you for joining.
Actually, gonna refer this to the PPPA.
Oh, you brought your,
There's quite a few people here that are gonna be speaking, so I'd rather this also.
well, thank you very much, members of PPA, and I'm glad you were all here to support Nicole Pollock. So, let me get you sworn in.
Madam Chair, I'm here also with Special Counsel Jerry Scott, the woman asked to join me, as well as General Counsel Matt Saddle.
Very nice to see you. Thank you for coming. Let us swear all of you in.
Please raise your right hands. Please swear on the penalty of perjury that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. And please state your names and your titles for the record.
Ron Crossan, Chair of the Providence Public Buildings Authority.
Al Salvador, General Counsel to the Providence Public Buildings Authority.
George Scott, Special Counsel to the Providence Public Buildings Authority.
Okay, well, thank you. Have a seat. The doors are driving me crazy. Donna.
I think we leave them
The
open.
doors are now opening and closing down now.
I think we can leave them open.
Thank you.
Just my unsolicited opinion.
Thank you. And if you don't mind, we're just gonna wait 1 minute until Councilor Anderbach comes back and joins.
Madam Chair, while we wait, would it be okay to pass out?
Yes, if you give it to the clerk, they'll be happy to distribute it and we can mark it as an exhibit. Okay, thank you so much. If you'd like to proceed.
Yes, thank you. Madam Chair, members of the committee, I want to first thank you for the opportunity to come before you. I had an opportunity to come before the Finance Committee several years ago with then Chairman Stan Weiss, and also to address the committee. The Providence Public Buildings Authority is not really one of the authorities or entities that a lot of people are aware of what we do. The question was asked earlier. We oversee over $100 million worth of bond money for the city of Providence. In the state of Rhode Island, the only way a municipality can raise bond money without putting it before the voters is to have a truly independent authority. Providence Public Buildings Authority is that entity for the city. We oversee not only the financing and the funding for the capital improvement projects at this point in time. Years ago, it was the school construction, and as General Counsel Mel Seller talked about earlier, was for the watershed, the Situate Reservoir.
Well, I didn't speak about that.
Oh,
sorry, as the committee knows, yes, Public Building Authority was used from its inception in the late 1980s to fund a lot of those land acquisitions, protect the land situation.
So this is a great opportunity also to introduce you to the team. I'm going to be stepping away at the end of this month. I am so excited to see Nicole coming on board. Someone with so much experience and knowledge about this entity. It really is a critical entity, and I know we're here to talk about one topic, but I think it's a great opportunity to share with the Finance Committee really the great responsibility that you have every time a new board member comes before you. The 5-person board members of the board serve for a period of 5 years, appointed by the mayor, ratified by or confirmed by the full body, first coming before your committee, and I had the opportunity to do that twice. And after 10 years, I'm really happy to be stepping away. Because one of the major projects that, in a 2020 bond, where we went out for 120 million, a quarter of that was for a new DPW complex. In addition, in the most recent bond issue that we went out for, once again, DPW complex represented a major portion of that issuance. I'm happy to report that that project is going well. We are with the architects are pretty much finalizing the design for that, and about to go through zoning and other final approvals. The RFP should be going out for subcontractors or contractors in the next several months, early part of this year. And the city really should start to see a building starting to come up from the Ernest Street property after many years. Part of the solution for the new complex also involved the purchase of property that is on top of the hill, formerly owned by Demio, that provided additional parking that was needed, additional spaces, and structure that on 20 Ernest Street that is there right now needed to be stabilized. When we, back in 2023, we're trying to ascertain while we move through the kind of transformation of the complex. During the feasibility study, the engineer has noted that the wall, which was right up against the street, supporting the roof structure, and under that roof, the operations where the trucks were parked, vehicles moving in and out, vibration, backing up, movement, was in severe need of shoring up or replacement. We went through the process working with the public property department at the time to try and ascertain back in 2023, because the earlier feasibility study in which the engineer had identified this issue had happened, I think it was somewhere in the neighborhood around 2019 or thereabouts, 2020, had identified a need to really address this. And what we needed to do was ascertain whether or not it was safe to continue operations under that. Working with the public property department, reaching out to the city inspector. City inspector, my understanding was, went out to inspect, followed up. A few weeks after that was done, they needed to speak to the engineer, followed up a few weeks after that was done. And I was told that the inspection department would not be reaching out to the engineer. Not sure why. But where we found ourselves was at a position where we did not really fully have an understanding as to how safe it was for individuals to continue to operate under that roof. So working with the director, Patricia Coyne-Fay, we moved the operations of the vehicles out from underneath that roof, outdoors. We provided a corral around it to protect the vehicles, the city assets during that time period. And the only requirement that we were given by the department was that we need to have those vehicles back under a roof by the time it starts to snow. So you're looking at a timeline of getting that done by December 21st. At the same time, we're going through the process of going through an RFP for an architect that is now the design team. That was started back in January. This process started around August. And so that process went through the Board of Contract and Supply. One of the things with the authority of the PBA is that the PBA actually can do direct procurement on 100% of the projects, but from its inception and also with the current board, our commitment has always been to go through the Board of Contract and Supply. Mal and I were trying to figure if there was any other instance in which we went through a direct procurement, in my 10 years, I couldn't really recall. And I don't believe now.
It's, I don't believe there's been one in the last 10 years.
Yeah, so
And it's been a rare instance. Managing.
what we did also with this, and there's a DPW working group. So this was done in collaboration with the city team. So we had director of DPW sitting around the table along with, and it's I did list everybody here on page 2 for you. We had director of public property then at the time, which was John Martin. Along with project manager Ben Lobaugh, eventually Dan Kittredge, project manager Joe Mulligan, director of planning and development. This was done as a very collaborative process in terms of working on this project from not only the shoring up project, but really the overall work that's been done on the DPW complex and will be done. So the decision was made that we would utilize the PBA's authority to be able to do a direct procurement, which we did. 5 bidders were identified from the NPA list. One of them was a minority business enterprise. I do want to point out one aspect on the very last page, 66. Special Counsel Jerry Visconti, sitting to my left, is legal counsel to 2 of the bidders who ended up being selected to be approached for the bid. His role during that time was essentially to work with, correct me Jerry, was to work on the contract, on the development, as well as we had project manager Bill Marchetti, who was an amazing individual, amazing project manager. We wish he could have been continuing on with this project, but due to health issues, had to step away at one point during this, but assisted with the RFP development on this. Bill has extensive history in terms of he was the project manager on the police barracks in Situate 911. Also the Kent County Courthouse. Also, he did the very first design build project. I hope I'm getting this right in the state for a municipality, and that was for the city of Providence and the Parks Department in Bourne, I believe it was, many years ago. And also helped write the MPA for project managers for the state of Rhode Island. In addition to this, so Jerry's role was to help draft the contract, work with Bill on the RFP, and also once the RFP and the contract was done, that was shared with the DPW working group, again, with the directors that I mentioned and the members from the city that I mentioned, for a review before it was then provided to the 5 bidders. Once shared, Jerry's role was also to receive the bids and also communication with respect to setting up the mandatory pre-bid conferences, in which we had 2 pre-bid conferences. The reason why we had 2 was the complexity. There were 2 options that were presented at the time. Again, we're trying to figure out what best solution to do, cost effective, and also looking forward to what would happen once an architect came on board, which we were in the process of going through getting the architect. The best thing would have been for us to be able to wait for the architect to come on board, have the architect figure out how best they wanted to approach it, but we wouldn't have been able to meet the deadline with respect that we were given about finishing and storing up the piece before the winter. So there were 2 options that were presented. Option 2 was to develop a sprung structure which could be brought in and also utilized perhaps or in the future as part of the project. Those can be disassembled and could also serve as cover for, let's say, sand, gravel, things of that nature to keep things dry. It could also have been used for the actual structure of the garage in its final phase. The other piece was to do a shoring up, which was a temporary fix of the structure itself, but it would get it through a period of time and ensure safe operation. So due to the time constraints that we had, The first pre-bid conference, the companies were walked through. Bill, as I mentioned at the time, due to a health issue, helped with the RFP development, things of that nature, but then had to step back. It was based on the questions that came up during the pre-bid conference and following. It became very obvious that one, it would probably be helpful to have a second pre-bid conference. Once we had spoken to Bill to see whether or not he could come back and actually lead that, he felt he could, and he did. So we had the companies come back through to get a full briefing from a person who basically had been envisioning this from the beginning, and that was very helpful. Also, from comments that were made and discussions during the pre-bid conference, it was determined that option 2 really would not be the best option to go with. So following that pre-bid conference, option 2, all bidders were advised that option 2 was off the table, just focused on option 1. There are, and what I put together here, and I did not have a chance to scan it in, but I will definitely get this over to, but I have the documents here. There's essentially all of the documents that I feel would be helpful and supportive as you look through this, if need be, including the addendum 1, 2, and 3. Addendum 1 basically gives engineering reports, structural, so you can see exactly the condition that the wall was in at the time and really understand the real need to move forward expeditiously. Addendum 2 and 3 were basically just RFIs, and questions and answers that were given and shared with all of the bidders. And the communications were also shared with members of the DPW working group. So this was all done very much collaboratively in going forward. So when the bids did come in, they were immediately forwarded by Jerry over to Bill Marquet, our project manager. He reviewed it, did the initial assessment, identified lowest bidder was to be Agostini, but also requested that there be a kind of a de-scope meeting to make sure that there were no questions missed, things of that nature. He did that de-scope meeting. I also have a very detailed notation of his breakdown that I'll provide with to the committee as well. I do have it here if the committee would like to look at it now, and determined that it was still the same. Agostini was the winning bidder. That was Bill's recommendation to the board that be the awarded bidder. And at the September 11th meeting of the board of directors, which was a public meeting, Jerry presented Mr. Marchetti, Bill Marchetti's recommendations. Bill, due to health reasons, again, was not able to attend that meeting, but recommendations were made. The board approved the award at that point in time. PBA board approved the award, subject to receipt of Mr. Marchetti's written opinion. That written opinion was sent to the board the same day, and then Agostini was awarded that. Also within this, Mr. Marchetti was able to actually come back and work on most of the project through completion, near completion actually, and took extensive field notes. Bill's doing fine. He's doing great. But one of the things that, one of the things that I would say, and I would love to share with you in the PDF that I'll put together, I included Bill's field notes from October 19th to October 31st. And I'll share that with you because that really will give you a really good idea as to the detail of oversight, some of the challenges that had to be, worked around during the project, and how the team really worked well. And quite frankly, this is a great example of a project that works collaboratively to expedite and get a project done well well documented. And additional, field notes are available if the committee would like it too, but just due to the volume, his notes from that period of time are probably about this thick. So with that, I would,
We really appreciate your testimony. Just so we can get, a little oriented here.
Sure.
Madam Auditor, if you could just, so, kind of, identify any issues that you have, with this. I have some issues myself with the authority to procure directly. So I'm just setting that aside for a minute. But I would like to know, there's some issues that we've discussed on this item. If you can, please.
My first question is, why in this particular one did you decide to do a direct procurement? And the 10 years that you've never done this before, why did you decide to do this one?
and that's a great question. And there was discussion about, amongst the group, and when I say the group, again, I'm talking about directors, PBA team. It really came down to timing as to, for us to meet the deadline that we had to finish it before, first snowfall, so to speak, which was identified somewhere around December 21st. In order to go through the full order contract and supply, advertisement, things of that nature, it was identified that we couldn't make that deadline.
So you went out to bid for the entire project.
Just the shoring up, not so the architect, that's going through the Board of Contracts and Supply.
This is what I need to understand.
Yeah, it's just the shoring up piece, that's
Which
all
is
that was
how
touched. That was, 1 point,
It's about 1 million free people.
Yes, will you please clarify so that we can orient
So-
ourselves?
So here's the issue that we have as a city. We never knew you never knew you had a contract, and then all of a sudden we see a bill. So the first time the city submits a bill is for $41,000, and then all of a sudden it's 1.3 million. So it's never disclosed how much the contract is. Publicly, the city should know what contract is out there. It should have been publicly bid. State law, city ordinances has to be publicly bid. Anything over $20,000 for the city, $25,000 for the state, has to be publicly bid. He opened, according to your statement, he opened the bids and then passed it over. How do we know he didn't change prices? Not so you did. How do we know he did that? That is why they're supposed to be open publicly.
yeah, I can let the attorneys speak to that, with respect to, and I do have it here, because, when the emails came in from each of the bidders, and you can actually see the trail, within a matter of minutes of it going into his inbox, it was then sent on to Phil Marchetti, in addition to Ben Lobaugh, in addition to his project manager for the city, to me, to Tricia. So I know you have some questions on that, and I can't speak to the legalities. I would defer
Mr.
to.
Cross, and I'm gonna
Yes.
say, we have no doubt that you're accurately, in my opinion, I know that the auditor is doing her job. But I mean, I don't have any reason I would ever suggest that you did misrepresented at all. My issue here is that it's not done in a public, transparent manner, and that's why we have the Board of Contract and Supply. I mean, if there is, I mean, I would like I'd like to hear from our legal team, and I'm not completely on the spot, Ken. But
On the
you know,
spot, Kenny.
with, whether, I mean, I can't believe that, that the authority can go to bid on this project without going through our Board of Contract and Supply. I may just not understand your statutory authority. I haven't had an opportunity to look at that myself, but I really, I mean, that's my problem here. And if maybe you do, and maybe we didn't know, but
Madam
we have
Chair,
to. I understand that, Mr. Crossan, that you've gone through, what you've done is tried to describe to me your process. Which sounds like quite a thorough process, and we're in the collaborative and working with the team, but I am unaware that you were able to do this, direct. procurement.
And Madam
Madam
Chair,
Chair, may I speak
before
to
you,
that briefly?
before you do Mal, because I would like Mal to do that, but in this as well, we'll also provide, and Mal can do that as well, is to provide the, state, enabling legislation as well as, the reference documents. Mal also was, one of the two attorneys that, helped construct the,
Well, it's the master lease agreement between that is in every financing of bond issues. But to directly address your question on Madam Chairman, there are powers enumerated in the Municipal Public Buildings Authority law passed by the General Assembly in 1987. In those powers is what I rely on in stating my position and having given my opinion through the years that the Public Building Authority does not have to apply the Board of Contract and Supply. It's not mandatory. It's done it historically in almost, probably more than 98% of the transactions that I've seen. I will state on this point, I've spoken to the current city solicitor about this at least 5 to 8 times in the last few years, prior solicitors, and I'm happy to speak with, obviously, Mr. Cheverini, who I thought might have also spoken to Mr. Dana about this. But, and I clearly would be happy to provide them with a memo, although his office does have, my analysis.
So I just want to understand from your perspective, if we have a project that is being funded by bond money, you were saying that the PPBA can actually go out on any of the projects that were funded by the bonds and go out and do direct.
If the PPA bonds issued by the public building. Yeah, yes.
Which bonds are issued by the public building?
Well, like recently in last summer, there was a capital improvement bond that the council approved. Those were issued to the public building. That was in summer, this past summer, 2024. There had been the one prior to that closed just as COVID shut down America in the spring of 2020. And Mr. Mancini, I'm sure supplement my remarks that that was a rather challenging environment. We had those two in roughly the last 4.5 years.
Okay.
They were both over $100 million. And to correct what Mr. Crossan's chair has said, and I would definitely defer to Mr. Mancini with respect to this, but the total outstanding debt, issued by the Public Building Authority in form of bonds, I believe is close to $350 to $400 million. And so it's significant. A lot of it was for schools usually.
Okay, I'm gonna let Councilor Anderbaugh, sorry, talk.
Oh, no, this is so helpful. Thank you. Sorry, I've been like,
No, I'm happy to ask, have you asked?
thank you. I have many questions, but just to follow up on what you just shared, and thank you for the presentation. This 1.3 million that we're looking at today, what bond is that from?
That's the 2020.
That's the.
I think that's correct. That's as I look at. The source of the applications. Yes.
And I think one thing that would make me a lot more comfortable with this would be, there's a lot of numbers being thrown out and timelines, which is very helpful to hear all the process. But it's really unclear to me, without even just like a spreadsheet of like, this is the like what we're voting on right now and what the 1.3 million is, what it's been spent on. I know we have many pages here, but even just a simple diagram, like what you spent when you had that authority, when you went to the Board of Contract and Supply, what you chose not to go to the Board of Contract and Supply for, just like spelled out very clearly for us. Because sometimes too much information is the same as no information if it's not presented in a way that's digestible. Not that this is not a criticism, it's just I am personally, it's like a PDF with a lot of spreadsheets, and I would love to even just get the actual spreadsheets or.
I have to, that function would be, I think, handled
by the chair, certain time, if I get involved with general counsel.
Man,
And maybe with the assistance of the Department of Public Properties.
And if that could
As
exist,
I
that would
understand,
be great.
monitors payment applications.
may I also say just a few things on this? When we were made aware of this, that was going through the Board of Contract and Supply, that it was, being referred to the Finance Committee. It was kind of a little bit after the fact. I think the city team had been doing a good job of trying to piece things together. One of the things that when we were made aware of it, we were able to simply ask the city to share the documents that were on the database. So just one thing, even though we're an independent authority, we pay our bills based on what is submitted through the city selected portal, which has been monday.com for the past several years. So 100% of the documents that have been invoiced, that have been paid through us on this invoice, as well as all projects, are submitted through monday.com. Just to give you an idea of the process, project managers submit to monday.com, then we're able to see it. Jerry Visconti recently has been, over the past 2 years, when Bill took ill, I asked him to step in to do approvals of requisitions as to what we present to the board. If there is a vendor client that because Jerry's represents other businesses in the contractors in the state or vendors, he will ask Ben Lowball in a situation, or Dan Kittredge, depending on what, prior to when Amanda Pontarelli, when she was in the role, to be able to ask them to review it, just to do the approval. Once it's approved, I've been putting it on the list to present to the board. But I say that to say, all documents should be in monday.com, all numbers are in monday.com, things of that nature. One of the limitations that in working with John, when he came on as director, I had identified was a limitation with monday.com, because you can only go down one level. So within, to give you an example, the DPW complex, there should be the ability to do feasibility study, and then subsections on that. There should be the ability to do shoring up projects, subsections on that. There are some limitations, but I say that to say the numbers that you're looking for are in monday.com. We can work with the director to get that. One of the things, and Madam Auditor, you had mentioned that it appears that a bill came, it seems like a payment request came that was different from the others. All the payment requests, including the last one that you're talking about, all went through the same process. So I'm not really sure why it was different, but it's been following the same process all along, so I'm not really sure. I do know that we've been working with Crystal in the finance department, which is great, and we're excited about that, because there had been something that we had become aware of through time, which was that different project managers or different individuals that were using monday.com felt a need to keep their own spreadsheets, which said to us, perhaps there was a challenge within monday.com that they were able to track the numbers the way they needed to track them. So, and in fact, John and I thought, when we were looking at, could we find a solution for monday.com, which was there was a choice to go with that by a former director of John's department to go to monday.com. So there are some limitations, and I think the work that the finance department is doing, I love that, because you're able to track the numbers and get reporting, which is what we've been asking for years, down to the penny. So love that. The challenge also needs to be that what monday.com or a system like that can give you is all stakeholders to be able to go in and see things from as you were saying, a project perspective. When you go into monday.com, it's not as confusing as it tends to be when I see the finance department's output, so to speak. So getting some type of hybrid would be good for that. But in terms of, we should definitely be able to tie all requisitions paid for the shoring up into one number for you. That will match the
Yeah,
contract.
that'd be great.
Any-
Yeah, can I ask
Yes,
one other
please.
question? And this is coming with a lot, so much respect and assumption of correct behavior. And also am wondering if we got an ethics, what's the phrase I'm looking for, ruling? Since, special counsel Jerry Visconti was also legal counsel to the winning bidder. Like, was there? I know my constituents would look at that and ask me questions about whether or not, what was done to make sure that there is a wall between the work being done on behalf of the bidder and the work being done on behalf of this board. And this is coming with, assuming you've done everything above board, but was there like an ethics ruling or anything to show that that was an okay?
There was not a seeking of an ethics determination. I'm not aware of that. No.
Is that the case?
There was not.
No, I'm not asking about the ethics opinion, the attorney, I mean, is that?
It says on the last page,
Okay.
yeah, it says that
Okay,
the special counsel was legal counsel to the Agostini and Power, and Agostini is. legal
okay,
counsel.
all right. I'm gonna, Ms. Auditor, or Madam Auditor, do you have some follow-up questions?
I do. First of all, I do want to state that there is a state law that says that they are entitled to procure and I'm not an attorney, it's very simple. 4550-10 simply states that the authority is authorized and empowered to acquire and construct public facilities and to acquire public equipment. But that does not mean that they can skip over the public bid process, the state law, and the city ordinances. That still has to be enforced. If you can do this under state law, you have to follow the other state law. Let me just finish.
Yes, I'm sorry, I'm gonna let,
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, I'm gonna let the auditor finish,
That's,
please.
that's allowed by state law, so you have to follow the other state law. The other thing I have a disagreement with is the timing. The timing of this is July 23rd to September 11th. I don't know how that's any different than our border contract and supply.
You will be regarding it, so as you can see, that was.
I don't know. I
Yeah,
don't know how that's any
yeah.
different.
Director Osmania was not there at the time. What I can say at the time is that first of all, what I would say is this, the PBA board has always taken the opinion that we go through the border contracts and supply. Except in an extenuating circumstance, and this right here in the discussion around, sitting around the table, we had directors in the room discussing options and timing and whether or not it would be necessary to utilize the PBA's direct procurement. It was not done just willy-nilly or lightly. It really was only done because we needed to complete the project within that time frame, and we were what we were given was that it would not be possible. So one other thing that I would say is this is while the PBA, and I know there's a difference of opinion as to whether or not there is ability or not, and Mal has spoken with the city solicitor on this topic. Whether or not there's an authority to do so, that, again, the board, it's, our opinion is we go through the border contract and supply. And again, really the only reason it was done this way. And the architect was done through the border contract and supply. The contract, the construction manager, we just went through that process. An RFP that went through border contract and supply. This was strictly just, it was a life safety issue. Timing was an issue that we were given in terms of time frame, and we were instructed that it wouldn't be met if we had to go through the BOCS.
Thank you, Councilor Sanchez.
Before Councilman Sanchez, I just want to report to you that I will speak with Solicitor
I
Dana.
imagine you will.
And I will get up to speed, or either he or I will appear before this committee to provide an update relative to Mr. Salvador's conversations and the concern relative to the legitimacy of the issue here.
I appreciate it. Counselor Sanchez.
Thank you, Chairman, and that was gonna be my, major comment is that, first of all, I appreciate you guys for taking the time and, you know, you've been here for a couple hours and
Yeah.
presented plenty of material. But yeah, I think, you know, regarding whether you have the approval or not is one story, but, the fact that you guys have, you know, always gone through the board contract supply, and then you didn't for this specific case. And with, the perception of possible conflict of interest, I would definitely feel a lot more comfortable getting a legal memo from our legal department, backing up that this is something that we can proceed, before, voting this out of committee. But, you know, I think we want to be very clear that you're not stating any, malicious, activity. But as, you know, responsible members of this committee, we need a little bit more from our legal department. Is where I'm at.
Yes, Madam Auditor.
Just for my understanding, so you have the PBA board, and then you have hired counsel. And do you have any of the hired personnel,
At this point in time, no.
and do they have contracts? Do
The,
the ones that have contracts
with the, legal
with the
counsel.
PBA?
Uh,
Like, how do you hire them? Could we get copies of their contracts?
There's not a contract, it's, yeah, but it.
Could we get copies of their engagement letters? I
Um,
think that's, I only say that because on your website, everything is public and transparent, and how is that paid? Is that paid for the money that comes from the city, and that's maybe a Larry question or a fiscal question, or is that paid through bonds?
It is paid through bonds. We have an administrative budget, that is worked on in agreement with the city. We presented the city, once it agrees, pretty much, we have it in place. We do it year to year. At this point in time, all the administrative bills are presented, during the public meeting, in terms of the payments that are made to, Mr. Visconti, consultants, to our bookkeeper, you know, a payment that would not come before the board in a public meeting on a monthly basis would have been, Mr. Marquetti was an employee of the PBA. So once his salary was approved by the board in a public setting, then it just became a weekly payroll that would happen. We do not have any employees at this point in time. What I had asked that, because of Mr. Marquetti's very special skills in terms of abilities, losing him was a very, it made us have to sit down and think organizationally, are we able to hire someone to be able to fill his role? Or does the board want to go in a different direction? I've left that because I'm stepping away at the end of this month in the hands of the current board members to determine what the organizational structure that they would like to see happen going forward. We do have an operational budget right now in place with the, but that is paid out of funds.
Thank you.
One last thing, because I just need to know timing, so, this project has already been done? Is that correct?
Yes, we got it completed on time.
And when was that?
That was December of 2023.
Oh my gosh, and they have not been paid.
No, there was a closeout for the contractor. Everybody, yeah, it's all been paid.
What's before us?
Madam Chair, what I would say is this, I'm not really sure, but what I would say is even though the authority, the PBA does have the authority to do this, and we'll have that. What I would recommend is that, there be an establishment of some protocols that should this be necessary in the future, that the city and the BBA have agreed to what that process might look like going forward.
Okay, that's a clarifying question, real quick, and knowing they're gonna come back.
Yes,
So what we have before us. That's dated November 20th, 2024, is a request not to exceed 1.3 million roughly. To be paid out of a certain account available from PPPA. What we're saying is this is all fully already been paid. So
I'm not really, again, I'm not really sure of the mechanics of this. It is confusing to me.
This is just needs to come before the council because you need to, I think that you need to understand how things are done. And things are done, in my opinion, improperly. I think it should have been before the board. I don't know how things can be paid before it's approved and it's not followed properly. Again, I understand there's a difference of opinion on that.
okay.
So that is why it had to be referred and discussed. And I think that maybe the PBGA and the council will just need to get a process or understand a process.
I agree. I think this is
So
great
it doesn't
work.
happen again,
Okay.
basically. I don't know what action to take because it's already been paid. So
Well, I appreciate the fact, thank you, this really makes me very appreciative that you all came in this evening.
yeah,
And Madam Auditor, I appreciate the fact you brought this to our attention. City Solicitor, Reedy, I would love a discussion with, report back, and then, yes, I would like to, I really would like to sit down with PBA and make sure that, maybe we can do that during a working session or something like that, but yes, I would like very much like to understand how we can make sure that we're, transparent and we're following our, bidding process.
Yeah.
So I really appreciate you, doubly appreciate the fact that you sat through all of this, and we don't really need to take action on this.
yeah, do you need to?
But do we need to continue? What would your recommendation? I think we're.
Yeah, I think so. I mean,
To keep it alive.
there's no timeline. It's already been paid.
Okay. May I have a
Motion
motion?
to continue.
Second,
All right, motion to continue by Counselor, Indergaard, seconded by Counselor Sanders. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed. We really appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Thank you for your service.
Madam Chair.
Thank you. Madam Chair and members of the committee, may I just say, in addition to bringing the project in on time, it was brought in over $100,000 of the budget with additional safety improvements in the facility where they're operating.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you so much.
Madam Chair.
Motion to mark exhibit two.
see the money around here. Second.
Exhibit 2.
Okay.
Yes.
All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Bed now.
Ready for dinner.
Yeah.
And now we're going to adjourn without a motion.
Hey, Juan, but
Oh, Jeremy's on motion.
that's what I'm talking about.
Sorry. Wait, what?
I'm